Hey everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have two cards sharing Spellbinders Small Die of the Month and the Embossing Folder of the Month for September 2022. So first I want to show you it's fairly new from Spellbinders. This is their universal die cutting platform and I have the Spellbinders Platinum 6, so this fits for that. And I'm showing you all the different kinds of shims and plates and things like that. This works for regular embossing folders, long embossing folders, 3D embossing folders, because sometimes it's hard to make a sandwich with that. And this has all the directions on which sandwiches to make for what, which is really fantastic. And I've had this for a while and I kept forgetting to share this with you guys. So this is a regular embossing folder. This is not a 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to use the regular sandwich for that, which is the A plate, the B plate, and one of the C plates. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. This is the embossing folder of the month. Now remember, I do have two cards. This card is really kind of sharing the small die of the month, but I wanted to bring in the embossing folder. It's a gorgeous floral background. I do want to do some ink blending on it. I'm using Catherine Pooler's terracotta and ginger ink for the background. I just love these colors, which is really weird for me. Well, I guess not. I do kind of like oranges, but it's so pretty for fall. So I'm using the terracotta at the top, and I love the way the ink, when you're ink blending something that's been embossed, the way the ink catches differently on the raised images. So now I'm going to use the ginger and I'm going to slightly go down or lightly go down the bottom. And as you can see, it's kind of catching on the ridges of those images. Okay, this is the small die of the month. This is a stitching die. You guys know me, I don't do the stitching dies. I've done it a couple times, but I just don't love sewing. I don't love stitching. But what I do think though, is that these are really very pretty. When you have die cut them, they look like lace. Now I am using some Cardstock Warehouse. It's called Pergamenata Bianco. It's see-through, kind of like vellum, but not as see-through as vellum, and it doesn't feel plasticky like vellum. So I die cut that using the die cut, the whole piece, and now I'm adding the little stitched pieces to it. Now the stitched pieces can die cut out on its own. The reason why I did it this way is because I had a different plan for my second card, and then I completely changed my design as I was going through this. So there was no need for me to do it this way. So I would have instead just used these pieces here to die cut out instead of the whole larger solid piece of a die cut. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. I can pull these out and you're going to be left with a little bit of a frame, which is what I thought I was going to be using, but I just opted to not use it. So I'm going to do that. I have die cut all of these twice. I did not use all of the flowers. I used leaves. I used 4 of those. So I do have these laid out. I am adding a little bit of liquid glue behind it. And because I only added a couple little dots, you cannot see the liquid glue through this. So that is a huge plus for this kind of paper. I wanted to keep these plain because I really loved the background. And I just feel like these leaves really did kind of pop off that colored background. But because I just laid them out, I really didn't want to take them all apart again. So I'm just kind of tucking them back in. And I'm not gluing them all parts of the leaves down. As you can see, I do like that they're lifted up because it gives it some dimension, almost like you've popped it up with foam tape. But you didn't have to. So I'm going to finish adhering those little leaves back in there. And I like how they cascade down that left side. I think it's super, super pretty. So I'm going to finish this last guy, and then I decided I should probably trim this down. So I trimmed it on one side and the bottom to make it a tad bit smaller because I forgot I wanted to have a nice little frame around it when I add this to my white A2 size card base. So I'm going to put this in place and then trim off the side and trim off the bottom. Now, there's a cute Hello Fall die. It's two dies, Hello and Fall, that comes in this small die. I just am going to use the Fall. I'm inking up some cardstock with Catherine Pooler's Winter Green ink, and I'm going to die cut the Fall. And then there's a shadow piece that I'm going to die cut from that same cardstock that the leaves are die cut from. And I love that little pop of green with this orange. I'm also going to stamp the sentiment And I'm going to use a sentiment from Pink and Main with that same wintergreen ink. But first I want to adhere my fall sentiment to the shadow background. I'm using the tiniest bit of liquid glue and then just my reverse tweezers, which I love. These are from Spellbinders as well, but I have some from Honeybee Stamps too. Those are a little bit on an angle, but I like both of them. So I'm going to put those in place, maybe because I couldn't figure out which L went where, and then I can adhere that down. And then, like I said, I'm going to stamp another sentiment. This is from Pink and Main's Fall Mice, which is a cute little stamp set. And it says, wishing you a harvest of blessings, which I thought went really great with that fall sentiment. So I'm going to ink that up and then just use my paper trimmer to trim that out. And then I can adhere that to the front of the card. You guys know from following me that I love dimension behind my sentiments. So I'm just going to add some dimension behind that stamped sentiment, not the fall sentiment. I also did not add sequins to this card. Usually I do, but there was something kind of flat about the colors of this that I really fell in love with, and I did not want anything shiny. I obviously didn't use a gold embossing powder, which I normally would have. I completely went a different route, which I really liked. Sometimes I have to push myself out of what I normally do to get a different look, and I just love how this card turned out. The colors and everything is just so pretty. So I will adhere that to a white A2 size card base, and then this card is finished. Isn't that so pretty? Okay, on to our second card. I've got a piece of copper foil. Copper cardstock from Cardstock Warehouse, and we are going to emboss this. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and I totally forgot that I love embossed like mirror cardstock. I think it is so pretty. So I'm going to trim this down. You guys, I don't even know the dimensions. I think they're ended up being like 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches pieces in width, and I can't remember the height, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm making 2 panels because I want this to have 2 panels on the front of my card. Then I die cut that same Pergamenata Bianco cardstock, just slightly bigger than these metallic panels, and I'm going to adhere those on. Then I have a piece of craft cardstock that is slightly smaller than my white A2 size card base, and we're gonna layer this. And this is a really simple way, but I think it's so dramatic because of like that mirror cardstock. So you could use gold or silver or whatever colors, blues, there's pinks. I know that Cardstock Warehouse has quite a few colors. So I'm going to pop these little panels up with foam tape because I do like these to have some dimension. So I'm just gonna eyeball centering those in the middle of this card panel, which took me a second because my foam adhesive kept wanting to adhere to my background, even though I didn't want it to. So I'm going to place those in place. And I also like to do this with like 3 panels across. If you flip the card base, and you could do 3 to 4 panels across, and that is really pretty too. So then I have a sentiment from Tailored Expressions that says Happy Thanksgiving. It is in gold embossing powder, and I'm just going to pop that up with foam tape, put that right in the center. And I did decide to bring in a few some gold sequins to add, and I'm just going to adhere those down. But as you can see, this is kind of a dramatic card, but boy, wouldn't this be a great card to mass produce, because it really wouldn't take a long time, and it has a wow factor because of that mirror cardstock. So I'm using Studio Katia's gold foil confetti. This is one of my favorites ever. It's so pretty. Okay guys, this last card is completely finished, and what do you think? I love how it turned out, and I love how that first card turned out. So I hope that you guys feel inspired by these projects. So thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!